This is Keys to the Shop, episode 264, a conversation with Abner Roldan of Cafe Comunion in Puerto Rico. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I'm your host for the show, and I'm really thankful to have you with me today for today's episode. I hope you're doing well. And if you haven't subscribed to Keys to the Shop, I would encourage you right now to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and that way you'll always be up to date with new content. These days we're putting out a total of, 10 episodes per month, including our shift breaks. So there's a lot of great content to stay up to date with, and that's a great way to do it. So also, I would encourage you, if you really love what you hear on the show, you should really share these episodes with a friend or with your team. And if you think of it, it would be cool too, if you like what we do here at Keys to the Shop, to leave a 5-star rating or review over at iTunes. Doesn't take very long to do, just a quick click, and it really makes a difference for how many people can find Keys to the Shop and get helped by the content. So thank you to all of you who have already done that. Now, Keys to the Shop, on top of doing the podcast, offers consulting and coaching for you in your business. That can be in the form of phone calls, remote consultation, in-person training and assessment of your cafe. Whether you're just starting out, opening your first coffee bar, or you're an established business and you want to level things up and really fine-tune your operations, your quality, and your people skills and management, there are a lot of ways that Keys to the Shop can come alongside you and help you really thrive in your coffee business. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to explore that more, I would love to hop on a call with you. Just email me, chris@keystotheshop.com is the email, and we can talk about how Keys to the Shop Consulting might be able to help you. Again, that email for Keys to the Shop Consulting, chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Crema Coffee. Crema Coffee is one of the world's best specialty coffee equipment suppliers. And the reason why is not just because they curate the most amazing equipment from all over the world and are constantly keeping their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry, but they also work alongside you to make sure that you're getting the right gear for your situation. And that's so important because it's such a big expense for your business to get commercial equipment, and you want to know that you can trust the people that you are getting that from and that they're in your corner. And that's definitely true about Crema Coffee. And for Keys to the Shop listeners, they are offering a 5% discount on your entire order when you use the code KEYS5 at checkout. So whatever you're getting online at Crema Coffee, you can get a 5% discount on everything. Is a really awesome deal. And again, if you're in the market for commercial equipment, I don't think you need to look much further than Crema Coffee. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Barista series from Pacific. So plant-based beverages are oftentimes more popular than milk, and that's just not slowing down, honestly. And you want to make sure that you're going to be able to offer your customers the absolute best options when it comes to plant-based beverages. And that's where the Barista series comes in, because they have created a beverage for baristas and has been bench tested by some of the world's best baristas. That means no matter what you choose from their extensive lineup, you'll know that it stands up to the heat from steaming, produces amazing texture for latte art, and creates a balance that focuses on the coffee. So if you're wanting to offer your customers the best plant-based beverage, then I highly suggest you go with the Pacific Barista series. Go to their website to find out more information over at pacificfoodservice.com. Okay, everybody. Well, today we're going to be talking with Abner Roldan of Cafe Comunion in Puerto Rico. Abner runs this amazing coffee shop with his wife, Karla. He is a member of the Barista Magazine Editorial Board and Puerto Rico's latte art champion from 2014 and 2015. Abner is a former high school teacher turned coffee pro and contributes articles to various online publications, and is a recent Sprudgie winner for Best Coffee Podcast for his podcast La Crema, which provides a really amazing, insightful conversations and interviews for Puerto Rican coffee professionals and Spanish language speakers all over the world. Abner is a consummate professional and has contributed a lot to the industry, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with him today as we talk about his history in coffee, getting into the coffee industry, starting his coffee shop, and we also get to talk about his experiences hosting La Crema podcast and what motivates him in both of those pursuits. And I think you're really going to get a lot out of this conversation. So without further ado from me, let's get right to it. Here now is my interview with the great Abner Roldan. Well, Abner, welcome to Keys to the Shop. I'm so happy to have you on the show. How's it going today?
Good. Thank you so much for inviting me. And, because I admire you so much and also I follow your podcast. And it's an honor for me to be part of this. And it's been a nice day. I opened today in the shop. And right now I'm back at home with the baby and Karla.
Awesome. So it's a good Friday. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show, and I appreciate you and what the work you do for the community and coffee, and that's really what we're here to talk about. And congratulations are in order. You're the Sprudgie Award winner for Best Coffee Podcast, and I had to have you on the show because you and I have kind of rubbed elbows throughout mostly latte art competitions and things like that. But I've always really wanted to get you on the show, and here we are.
Thank you so much, and thank you for congratulating me. I don't know how to say that, but it was a big surprise for us. I remember I was just watching Netflix with Karla, and then I saw that we won, and it was a big surprise for us because we are a big fan of many of the podcasts that were on the list, especially you and Ashley with Boss Barista and the guys from Cat and Cloud. It's an honor for us to be recognized like this.
Absolutely well deserved. So I think a great place to start with all of this is, you're not just a podcast host. You're a barista champion, you're a cafe owner, coffee professional. And so I wanted to take some time to back up and talk a little bit about your journey in the coffee industry and kind of what brought you to coffee and then to open your own shop. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
I went to school and I graduated with a bachelor degree in accounting. I didn't know what to do when I studied that. I knew I wanted to open a business. That was I graduated in 2004. And at that time, I noticed some coffee shops in the area that I live. There were more carts, and I noticed them because of latte. I used to drink coffee only with my family when we had a meeting and we met our grandma's home and she made coffee for all of us. So that was the only time that I drank coffee. But I started to hang out with friends and we started to meet in this plaza in a town close to us. And I noticed this coffee shop and I said, I like this, I like what they're doing and it looks like a cool job. But I didn't work in a coffee shop until 2010. But right after I graduated, I tried to open a coffee shop, but it didn't work out. And I'm so happy that it didn't work out because I knew nothing about coffee. And in 2007, I stopped being an accountant because I didn't like it. And I started to work as a teacher. That's how I met Karla. I was an English teacher for high school students, and me and Karla at that time started to hang out in coffee shops close to where we live. And I still had that curiosity about coffee. So I asked this owner of a coffee shop close to our apartment that if they could give me a job during summer, because as a teacher, we have a summers off. So he said, yeah, come to work with us because we have an opening. And I started working in coffee in 2009, I think. So when I went back to teach in August that year, they let me to continue working with them part-time. So I was a teacher during the day from 8 to 3, and then from 4 to 7, I was working in the cafe. So that was, every day. And that was, my moment to relax, to relax my mind, because, as a teacher, you have very, heavy days, like a lot of stress and tension with the students and parents, and, it's a heavy day. So that time in the coffee shop was my time to relax and have fun and, learn about coffee. So it was like that, for 2 years. And in 2013, I competed in latte art. So I was practically new because I was working in coffee for maybe 3 years, but I didn't know that much. And so I competed in the national latte art championship. It's different than the coffee fest. It's the one that it's like the barista competition, but it's the same setting,
Right.
but it's with pictures of the latte arts that you're gonna make. So I competed in that one in 2013, I think, and I won. So I was a little bit hesitant about going back to school. So that was during the summer because I was liking coffee. Coffee is not supposed to be like a adult profession, you know. It's like it's supposed to be a job for a student or for somebody that didn't go to school or whatever. That's the perception that people have. I was in my 30s or 29, I think, and I was thinking about leaving school and stop being a teacher to start a career in coffee. I was still in doubt, you know. But when I won the national competition, that I had to go to Australia to compete in the World Latte Art Championship, that was like a confirmation for me. Like, oh, I think I'm gonna keep doing this for the rest of my life. Then the next year, I competed again, and I won again in 2014. So I got to compete in Gothenburg in Sweden. So when I started to travel, that's when I saw and noticed that people see baristas as professionals. When I came back to work again in the same coffee shop and meeting other baristas in Puerto Rico, I tried to be as professional as I could be to show them that there's another way to be a barista. There was another way to make coffee, not just a random job that you have for a couple of years.
What was the scene like in Puerto Rico at that time?
There were many baristas that were working in coffee for a long time, you know, before me, and they were adults, but it was like it's still like a little bit fast food, run like a fast food, you know, coffee shops. So it's just something like a little bit second wave, just making coffee like a cafeteria, and that's it. And just focusing on latte art, you know. When I started to see other people outside, you know, like in other countries, and people so focused on details, so focused on being consistent, so focused on doing the best that they could every time that they make a coffee, that's when that was like a aha moment for me. So that was also a confirmation for me that, you know, I could be a barista and be a professional and be a responsible adult. I don't know.
So that pushed you over the edge. All the exposure to the greater community was just enough to make you know that there was a future in this. And how soon did you end up opening your store after you realized this? After
that, in 2015, me and Karla decided to move for a little while to Portland, because one of the when I was competing in the World Latte Art Championship, I also competed like 4 times in Coffee Fest. So I remember a year I went to New York, to Portland, I think LA. So one of the cities that we love was Portland. No, we like a lot Melbourne. For me, it was too far, and also I don't think I was gonna be able to get a job. I don't know, like with visas or whatever. But me and Karla like a lot Portland, so we wanted to be a little bit outside and get experience outside Puerto Rico before opening our cafe in Puerto Rico. So we moved in 2015 to Portland, Oregon, and we were in there for almost a year. When I went there, I worked in Barista, a coffee shop in Alberta Street. And also, it was a big aha moment for me, because I thought I was a pro in coffee, but I still didn't know a lot when I got in there, because they knew, okay, yeah, I know you're a champion and you have been working in coffee for a while, but you have to be trained, because we want to show you how we make coffee in here. So they have a lab, the basement of their per location. And I was in there like once a week with them, making espressos and making recipes. And I knew how to dial in, of course. But at that time in 2015, I still didn't work with recipes. So that was something that is not common to see here in Puerto Rico. There's still a lot of people that have a way maybe to communicate with coffee that is not through recipes. And they just see the coffee, it looks nice, or something like that. People that still dial in coffees like that. When I went there and I, got trained by them and saw other ways to serve coffee and being consistent, that changed my way of being a barista a lot. So I worked with them for almost a year, and I was happy in there. I love Portland. I love the community in there, but I knew that I had to come back to the island and open my shop in here. And we came back in 2016, and I started the process to get a loan, to get a location, to the construction, and it took me also almost a year to get open.
When you planned this cafe, it's fair to say that you're wanting to put into it all the things that you've learned over the years of being in coffee, and your learning moments that even up to the point where you were in Portland and having that aha moment again. And so what was just going back to Puerto Rico and opening this shop, what was your major goal in doing this? What kind of impact did you want to have with this coffee shop besides having a business?
I wanted to open a place that I didn't want to say, we are going to be the best one, or we're going to be we are the only people that know how to make coffee correctly. I didn't want to bring that because it's not us, but I wanted to bring Karla and I experience, the traveling and meeting other people, working in other places of the world, but also respecting Puerto Rican culture. When we opened, people were excited for us because they have followed us for many years, and they were waiting for almost a year for us to open in Santurce. And I wanted to show them like a piece of me, not just something that we copy paste from other places, or not just another cafe that you can see in another corner. But I wanted to show them a place that me and Karla thought a lot about it, and a place focused on quality, focused on hospitality, and also a place focused on community. It's like something that is in us, we work with other people. Karla had worked with many years with Boys and Girls Club. She was a teacher in there. I just didn't want to open a shop and that's it, like another shop by hipsters or whatever people call people that look like us, but just a nice place to communicate and meet people and get a very good cup of coffee. It's also in the name, Comunion. It's not just a name. I wanted to have a name that was a heavy word. So it's about the community. It means a place to share ideas, a place to share with other people.
Indeed, yeah, and I love the name. And over the years, as you have been the owner of this place, your career has been full of moments where you've had these transitions from not knowing much about coffee to knowing a little bit more to having another leveling up your experience. But I wonder how owning a coffee shop and operating a coffee shop has been different than being a professional working for a coffee shop.
It's way different because the work never stops. That I am like 24/7 thinking about Comunion, and it's not that I am not present, but I it's that when you are a barista or a roaster, you clock out and that's it, and maybe if you are a little bit interested on learning more, and then you go back to your home and watch a video about coffee, read a book about coffee. But when you're an owner, it's like part of your family. It's like when I am in the shop, I'm thinking about my kid. When I'm here with my kid, I'm thinking about, like what do we need for tomorrow, or how to bring new stuff to the shop. And also, you are a little bit more aware about waste, unnecessary waste. Yeah, when I was into latte art a lot, I remember like wasting a lot of milk and coffee for the perfect picture.
Yeah.
Or for the perfect video. And now that I'm me and Karla and our owners, the picture that you see that I post is the one that I don't know, a random coffee that I made for myself.
For sure. You're sensitive to the things that are going to impact your business, because now it's all of a sudden it's like you're responsible for everything. And I've been there, like as a barista, you just feel like, well, why can't you just use all of this product? Because in the end, it's going to mean more business. If people you'll see this beautiful latte art or whatever, but it doesn't really hurt you the same way.
Yeah, because it also it's not, maybe it's my only chance, to have a business. So that's why I put so much energy on it, because if it doesn't work, if I have to close it for whatever reason, then it's going to be so hard again to open a shop. It's not that I have a backup of my parents are rich, or I have a lot of investors and they're gonna say, oh, opening another location. But it's just me and Karla and the bank and myself. So we have to give so much energy, put so much energy into the shop, because we love it. We love what we do. And because we wanted to be open for, forever, not just 2-3 years and want to be a bartender on then or a chef or another store. No, I love this so much, and I want Comunion to last and to be part of the community that we are serving.
So what you're doing with your coffee shop and now with the podcast is obviously you're serving the Spanish-speaking coffee community there in Puerto Rico, but also, with the podcast worldwide, really. And that's a particularly underserved community when it comes to coffee education and having a feeling of connection in the culture. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you've been able to see what you do impact that culture and help the Spanish-speaking coffee community.
Yeah, there's a big community, a Spanish coffee community in Latin America, South America, Mexico, and also Spain. And I think, and I believe that people in the north don't think that much about us down here, because they probably see us only as coffee producers, but they don't think about us as baristas, as roasters, curators. And I remember that maybe 5 years ago, I had a blog, a coffee blog, and I did it for the same reason that I did my podcast, because there was not a lot of written stuff in Spanish. And I have seen internet magazines and web pages, when you read their Spanish stuff, you know that they are using web browser translator because it sounds off. And I write them, why don't you hire a Spanish speaking translator? And also there's a lot of videos and stuff that are only in English. And if you care about people down here, probably you can put subtitles, somebody, and not only in Spanish, also in many other languages from countries that don't speak English. So that's why with the little time that I have, I created La Crema, because I am a fan of podcasts, and especially Spanish-speaking ones, and also because I wanted to help people in Puerto Rico to know more about stories of people involved in coffee, like opening shops or baristas that are champions or people that are doing cool stuff. And I'm surprised that people from Mexico and also Peru, for example, are listening to it. And I'm happy that it have had the reception that it has right now. But I just want people to think about people in the South, that if you have something written, try to do it in English, in Spanish too.
Yeah, so like the people that do things that are offerings in Spanish, at least, like if you're going to offer something in Spanish, make it authentic, make it
make it legit. Yeah.
something that can be easily understood. I mean, if people have a hard time understanding what you're talking about, they just need to, hit translate on an Instagram post from another language, and you know exactly it. Like I follow a lot of accounts in Korea and other countries. I hit translate, and I'm just like, I get it, kind of. But imagine trying to be a coffee professional and get better at your job and not really have the proper tools, which is exactly why, I'm so happy that you're taking, to podcasting to be able to, help people in that way and share stories with professionals on the show. And I about that show, I just wonder, like, what's been the biggest takeaway from the show for you? What's been the most pleasantly surprising to you about the experience of interviewing people and putting this resource out to the community?
I think it's been people are passionate about listening to stories about people that are like them, and we're able to create something cool, especially in something that you love, in coffee. Because, for example, I listened to this podcast called Radio Ambulante, and our stories about a lot of things in Latin America and, I don't know, random stuff. But when you listen to something in the stuff that you are passionate about, then it motivates you to create and to being part of the community. Because when you are part of the community, even if you are not close to a lot of people, it motivates you to continue working on what you love. So people have gave me feedback about liking the stories, and because they didn't know that this roaster or this producer had this story, or used to change careers, or used to work in filmmaking, and now they are barista, stuff like that. So I learned that people are passionate about listening to stories about people that are working the same thing as them.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because as you have mentioned, a lot of the learning that you've done over the years has come through your connection to community, and your aspiration to continue doing what you're doing now is because that out there are other people doing similar things to you, and that feels, even if you're not talking to them face to face, it feels motivating to be able to have those stories in the back of your mind, knowing that, no, I can continue because I know there's other people with me doing this.
Yeah, because we are a small community. Because, everybody in Puerto Rico drinks coffee, but not all of them know about specialty coffee. Not all of them know about what is a barista. So when you are connected to other people in the internet, or listening to their stories in the podcast, or watching their videos, then you feel that you belong to something. So that's what happens with coffee, and that's also why I tell people, try to save money and go to the next coffee convention, or go to the next coffee fest, and then you're gonna meet a lot of people that are as passionate as you. and it motivates you to continue to learn more, to continue to grow more. And that's what I love about what I'm doing, because at first I didn't think that people outside my circle will listen to it. I just wanted to have something like uploaded, and I did a podcast when somebody asked me, oh, and I want to learn about something. Oh, listen to this episode, and I didn't think that a lot of people will listen to it. But now, when I take a hiatus, like I make like 5-6 episodes, and I maybe take a couple of months off, people ask me, oh, when is the next episode? Or yeah. So people like keep, oh, I like it, I love it, and I blush and I say, oh no, don't say that. And people are happy with it, and because I learn by myself, I learned how to, watching videos, and it took me forever. It's like when I make a flyer or make a video, it takes me a lot of hours, because I have to, if I want to make a banner in the flyer, and I have to watch a video and see people. Yes. It takes me forever, but I like to do it myself. Now, it's not that I don't want to pay other people, but I like to learn how to do the same stuff that I present to people. And but for stuff like my logo and professional videos, and we hire people. But for stuff that I upload in my own account, I try to do it myself. So it's the same thing with the podcast. It used to take me forever to go to this GarageBand and try to edit it. And at first it sounded a little bit off, but now it's sounding it's much better. And so I just wanted to, I don't know, do something myself.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. So now, as you continue to work as a coffee professional, a business owner, and now a resource to the Spanish-speaking coffee community, I mean, what are your long-term goals for your shop, your podcast? I mean, what kind of impact do you want to make long-term with these things, both with the Spanish-speaking community and the non-Spanish-speaking community in how they view those that are professionals in the South?
I just want to, Puerto Ricans and also people from Latin America, that we can embrace more our culture and don't depend that much of what we see on the conventions or all these videos. These famous baristas and famous people are a resource for me, because I learn a lot from them. But I don't want people, from my community to think that that's, how you have to be like them, because we come from a different reality. And so I know so many people that are obsessed with buying whatever they see. Oh, this new product, I have to buy that. And they have their homes and shops full of equipment and tools that they don't use, because it's like a mentality that we have to have that product because we have to, we are a better barista if we buy that. But there's a lot of that kind of stuff that don't appeal to us, because if this grinder works for me, I can continue, because we probably make way less money than those other shops that are visited by a lot of people. I don't know. So I just want to help people understand, if I made it, you can make it, and make it with whatever resources you have, and make it without forgetting about your culture, forgetting about your roots, forgetting about your language. And get whatever you want, whatever you can from other countries or other baristas or other shops that you see on social media. But you can make a specialty coffee in your own community. That's why I wanted to come back to Puerto Rico, because I just didn't want to be just another barista in Portland. And I knew that I was going to have fun. I knew that I was going to work with a lot of great coffees and next to a lot of great baristas and people over there. But I wanted to come back in here because I wanted to help the community and to show my colleagues that we can do it in our land, because we have this mentality that people, customers or consumers in here are not going to understand or specialty coffee. And they don't want to pay more than $1 for a cup of coffee. But we prove that we can do it. And if we did it, there's a way that you can do it too.
Well, that is awesome, and I am really thankful for the inspiration that you are, and thankful that you were able to come on the show here and talk to us about what you're doing. And how can we stay in touch with you, subscribe to the show? Like, where can we find more information about both your business and your podcast?
Or you can find us in business in Instagram and also in Facebook. And you can find it under the name Cafe Comunion. It's like communion, but only with one M. And you can find me on Instagram too as Abner Roldan, ABNERROLDAN. And you can find our podcast La Crema on Spotify, also on the podcast Apple app, also on SoundCloud.
Excellent. Well, Abner, it was a pleasure to talk to you. I'm really glad to have gotten to know a little bit more about your story and what you're doing with your business and your podcast. And again, we're just really grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I hope that you really enjoyed that episode. A big thank you to Abner for being on the show and sharing his story with us. I really appreciate his point, specifically about if you're going to reach out to a community, do it the right way. When we talk about coffee community, we do have to overcome some of our bias toward different parts of our community that aren't just English speaking and kind of the global North coffee community. That's why I'm so happy that Abner is doing his podcast and doing what he's doing in Puerto Rico with his cafe, and is such a vital part of the barista community, and doing great work to make inroads into communities that have been neglected. So at the very least, I hope that this has inspired you to extend the reach of whatever it is you're doing in the specialty coffee world and create more inroads for more people. It only helps grow the industry, and you're going to be really thankful that you did. So if you want to learn more about what Abner is up to, you can go to his Instagram, Abner R. Roldan, and you can also follow the cafe on Instagram. That's at Cafe Comunion with one M. So those will be links in the show notes as well. Now, if you have any questions or comments, feedback about this episode or anything that we do here at Keys to the Shop, I would really encourage you to email me. Chris at Keys to the Shop is the email to use for that, as well as inquiries about Keys to the Shop consulting. So thank you all very much for joining me. I appreciate you subscribing, sharing, listening. I truly do. And I hope you have an awesome week. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.